Welcome to Vegas Circle with Paki and Chris, and today joining the circle with us at Bottega Exchange, we got the NFL legend and LA Rams all-time leading rusher, Steven Jackson. So welcome, man.
What's up, man? I've been wanting to get on this show for a minute. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah,
I am.
Before football, man, what was it like growing up here?
Man, you know what? I got to go on the record just so everybody know. A lot of people moving in Vegas, and nothing against people that have relocated to Las Vegas, but I am Sunrise Hospital, right? You know,
Okay.
like, yeah, I know where I was born. I know who the lady that slapped me on my ass. You know? So growing up in Las Vegas is one of those cities that most people only know the city for the entertainment side. And most people don't know it for, you know, the hometown side of things, you know, regular communities, you know, grocery stores, churches, places of worship, or just where you get your education or you send your kids off, in the local communities that you trust the people in to look after them while the parents are working.
Yeah.
So I'm a blue-collar kid. Both my parents worked on the Strip my whole life. One at Las Vegas Hilton and the other at Caesar's Palace, you know. And this is a time before corporations owned the casinos. These were when they were family-owned. So literally my parents, you know, worked their way up from housekeeping and being a porter to being a 21 dealer, and then my father ending his career as a casino manager at the Caesar Palace. So, like, when I say I know Vegas and when I know people, I know people intimately, yeah.
That's what's up, man. Your parents really raised you right, man, with education and the whole nine, even before sports, man. I was seeing you got like a 3.8 GPA in high school, man. So you weren't messing around, man. Your parents was having you hitting the books.
No, a lot of that goes to, you know, credited to my mom and dad. One, they both being from a small town in Arkansas. Okay. Where, you know, they grew up Jim Crow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, on some real stuff, you know. So they grew up in an environment where it was segregated and the school supplies, the textbooks were dated, you know, things like that. So it was always drilled in me that, you know, education was very important. And if I wanted to play football, I wanted to do anything with my friends, that I had to make sure that my work was done. And that was something that was still in me very young. And it was something that I took pride in. And, you know, as I got up in age and realized that, you know, you could create the life you live, as long as you have a good foundation and education behind you, you could go anywhere on this planet and make something happen.
Yeah.
And how important is that to be such a successful football player? Because it's a lot of X's and O's inside the sport.
Yeah, you know, I would say as a football player, I was a kid. I was the youngest in my family, you know, so I had two sisters that were older than me. But being outside of just being the youngest in the family, I had really no one to play with, right? So, you know, you're the youngest in the family, you had two older sisters, and it was just like, I got to get out the house. My mom and dad was big about that. And sports is where I found to be my place of refuge. And, you know, I played football, played basketball in the winter. I ran track in the spring. It was one of those things that as I continued to stick with it, I found that I was starting to create my own personality. You know, I had my own life, my own friends in sports. And, you know, naturally any kid that feel like they're good at something, they pay more attention to it and really work at it. And I was just really dived in. My father also being a Marine before moving to Las Vegas. So, you know, early mornings, all I knew was work, you know, and then accountable. All those things that my dad drilled in me, I found in team sports. I was like, oh, okay, all right, I get it, you know, and that's probably why a lot of times, and I know we're going to get into my career, but I know a lot of times people will be like, how did you play for a team that was so bad? It was just like, yo, I was just raised to just really just do my job. Everything else take care of the rest.
Yeah, your pops did right, man.
Yeah,
because you go crazy when you're dealing with when you're losing and doing stuff like that. That was one of my questions I had for you too.
Yeah. I mean, you could go crazy like that, but I mean, I don't want to take away from your questions, but I would say to the listeners that's listening right now, we all go through something. Each and every one of us. You don't have to be an NFL player, but I mean, if you're just an employee, if you're a business owner, if you're a student getting ready for a big test, you're going to have temptations. You're going to have distractions. At the end of the day, you're going to account for yourself. And I quickly learned that. And I think that's how I was able to block out some of the nonsense that was surrounding me.
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to high school at here?
So, for the listeners. So I went. This is a difficult question for me to answer.
Okay.
So for the listeners, I went to a vocational school. At the time was named Votech High School. Okay. And for that vocational high school, I learned the skill of drafting, and I went on to study architecture in school.
Okay.
But because I went to a vocational high school, they didn't have a football team. So I went to the school that I would have been naturally zoned for, which was El Dorado High School, El Dorado Sun Devil. Yeah.
But your background is architecture.
Yeah, my background is architecture. That's what the artistic side from me. So if you follow me on Instagram or you see some things that I've done in my past with art, that's where it stems from.
Okay, yeah. I was going to get into that too. Man. So I saw what you travel around the world. So did you always want to be a professional football player?
Man, yeah, I did. To be honest with you, I know from the time I was like I said, I didn't have many influences outside of my family. So I had an older cousin. His name was PJ, and PJ was a running back at Western High School in town.
Okay.
And I remember going to his games on Friday nights. Man, he had got offers from all over the country. He ended up going to Arizona State. But I would go to his games, and to me, PJ was an NFL superstar. Like, to me, it was just like everybody wanted to see PJ play, and PJ was just a man. I was just like, yo, I want that in my life. How do I do that?
Just the swagger? Or what?
It was the swag. It was the, I would be honest with you, too. My dad's favorite sport was baseball.
Okay.
Being from Arkansas, his favorite team was the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay.
And he just loved baseball. But for me, it wasn't in my cards. I tried to play baseball, and I was a kid, about 6, 7 years old, at the Boys and Girls Club, and I called a line drive with my mouth, not the glove. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was just like, I'm straight. I'm like,
you done after that.
I was done. I was like, give me a helmet. So, so I would say it was a natural progression. Okay. I always loved sports, and my mom definitely was just making sure, like, it's a 24-hour town, and they wasn't always with me. So they was like, yo, if I got to work these long-hour shifts, we're going to make sure that he's involved in something, and that something was sports.
Gets me is that, Las Vegas is not really known to be a hometown spot.
Yeah.
But you have all these superstar homegrown talents that come out of here.
Yeah.
With, you, Steven Jackson, Bryce Harper,
right.
all these people that are not just in the field, but top of their game.
Right.
What do you think that is?
You know what? I mean, it's a good question. I think I know Bryce a little bit, and I would say the first thing that glares out in my head is that we both have fathers that were driving forces in our lives, right? So I would say that. I know any father that's out there listening and you have children in your life, please stay involved in their lives because, it makes a difference. Then outside of that, I think being from the city and always having people come in, having their own hometown favorites, or having their own town favorite athletes. Being a kid from here, you like, yo, the canvas is blank. Why not? Why can't I be somebody's favorite athlete? And I just kind of took that in my head. It was like, there's one or two ways that I saw out. I wanted to go to college. Obviously you want to go to the NFL, but if anything, I was like, yo, if I could run fast enough, hard enough to get a free education, sign me up.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I've got is like, when you have all these distractions you talked a little bit about, especially growing up here, were you on the strip? Were you dealing with that? Or were you like, man, I'm keeping my butt off this?
I didn't have my first taste of alcohol till I got to college. I was that kid, right? Okay. So I was that kid. I was a straight arrow when it came to athletics and Gatorade. But I would say on the other side of things, the temptation was there. I had it. I was young enough and talented enough that people probably saw the talent before I recognized the talent.
Okay.
And so I had the big cousin that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. I had family members and I would say even some teammates that knew they wasn't going as far as me. And they were I was blessed, man. It's no other word outside of blessed to say. I had people surrounding me like, yo, you have a future. Keep your head on straight because everything that's distracting us or things you may want to do in your life, all it is a distraction. It's not going to better your life.
Your sister, I know, was a big part because she was your manager.
Yeah, she's my manager. That's
awesome, man.
She's my manager, my confidant, and she's a second mother. Rhonda, that's my sister you're talking about. Rhonda is 13 years older than me, right? So, as I mentioned earlier in the story, my mom and dad, they have high school education, and nothing against that, but when you get to the point of your child going to college or your child possibly having a professional career, they were a little intimidated, and they didn't know if I was going to give the right advice. So Rhonda was the person that stepped in for my mom and dad to answer the question that they maybe felt not comfortable enough answering. Yeah. So Rhonda and I, man, although we were brother and sister, people saw us. You knew the person was not too far away.
Yeah,
we was a hand in glove.
They ain't gonna play with you either.
Yeah,
with 13 years, they ain't gonna play.
No,
with you.
They're not playing. Yeah.
And
great. And she helped filter a lot of distractions that I see some guys to this day in the NFL. I'm like, man, everybody need a Rhonda in their life.
Because you see it. I've had a few friends play professionally, and it's just keeping that core and keeping the people around you. Obviously, the people that are in this room with you too is. You can see that, and you can feel that energy from the first time I met you, man. You can see that that's what it is, and I'm assuming it's a faith base too.
It's a faith base. Yeah. It's a faith base for sure. And I would say the other thing is a lot of people just need a great example, and most people don't have that example in their life. I was just fortunate enough to have multiple examples
Yeah.
But even now, when I mentor young guys, I don't try to tell them not to do something, or in the sense of not to do something and you want to go kick it.
Sure.
Well, just make sure you can get up in the morning. You want to go out and spend something, make sure you have it accounted for. You know what I'm saying? Like those decisions. I'm not here to make a decision for you. I'm just here to guide that decision to give you something to think about. Yeah. And a lot of times people don't have that person to make you stop and think about the purchase or the decision.
That's real.
With that, you have, you dealt with grinding through. You're becoming getting to a place where you're going to be drafted. What's it like on draft day? Because that seems like
a
life-altering decision.
Yeah,
crazy. You're paid and you have all this money. That's a lot.
Yeah. We were actually talking about this a little earlier today. I'm pointing at my college roommate. He's in town visiting, but going into the Las Vegas Bowl, which was my last collegiate game, Oregon State versus New Mexico or New Mexico State, whichever one it was. We're getting ready to play this team, and I'm like 50-50 if I'm going to go back for my senior year or not. And we're playing the Las Vegas Bowl, and I'm like, wow, like I'm playing in front of my hometown. People haven't seen me play in 3 or 4 years since high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, you know what? Oregon State's asking me to hold off on the decision. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then the game plays out, and I score 5 touchdowns in front of the home crowd on ESPN. Right? This is we wasn't in a BCS Bowl, so we on ESPN. Nobody else playing this night. And I'm like, yo, I run up 5 touchdowns. I'm like, yo, if you don't win the Heisman National Championship, there's no other way to go out. You know what I'm saying? So it was a decision that was made on the fly. It was an unbelievable, night for me. But I will say, leading up to the draft day and what's going to happen is young people, we all think we're going first round. Yeah. And everybody wants to be the first pick. Yeah. But the actuality of it is, it's not in the cards for everybody. So I would say draft day is a nervous wreck. People are blowing smoke and just saying, you're going to go here, you're going to go there, you're going to have all the X amount of money. And when it comes down to that day, it's very nerve-wracking, and you just want it to be over. So you don't care who says your name. You just like, yo, at the time, you just want to be at the squad. Yeah. And, at the time, it was Paul Tagliabue was the commissioner, not Roger. And when Paul said my name, although I thought I went a little too late in the draft, in my own opinion, I was just like, yo, let's just go now. Like, I was ready to get on the plane and just show up.
Yeah, I know your pops had a lot to do with that, man. I'm seeing it with everything. That's awesome, man. So talk to us a little bit about your mindset on how do you keep your composure and just focused? Because I know it's in business now, of course. Yeah. But is it the architect background of just being lasered in, where when you're going into a game, when you're around a crowd, you're not paying it, baiting, dealing with any of the bait.
Right. I would say the laser focus probably comes from a mixture of my dad, and then my first year of Pee Wee football here in town. I played for the Las Vegas Buffaloes. Okay. I lost every game. My very first year, 7 years old, and I averaged 5 touchdowns, right? So it's one of those things that I was a dominant force on a losing team. And my dad, that whole season, he was a man that never let me quit. You sign up for something, you got to finish it. Now, right? Now, if you go now, the next year, if you don't want to play, you don't have to play.
Yeah, but you got to finish.
You got to finish, right? Yeah. So that mentality was like, it was a no-no. So quitting was a no-no, no option. And then the other thing was a matter of my father would, probably to this day, I probably just with my children. I say go to the tape, but it wasn't tape. He was running down his memory of the game.
Got you.
But we would go to the tape in the car, and he would literally just nitpick everything that he thought I could do better as a 7-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
seeds,
hard,
man.
bro. Like, you're like, damn, I scored 4 or 5 touchdowns, and he talking about you fumbled. Like, right? So it was like those kind of things that he always nitpicked that to me it was torture. But when I got to the NFL and I had to go through my walk in the NFL, when you play for teams that went 1-15, 3-13,
I can't even imagine, man.
Bro, it's like it was nothing that somebody in the crowd could say to me that my dad hadn't even prepared me for, right? So
you weren't like pissed coming in the locker room, like, dog, well, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you?
But the one thing that I was smart enough to know that if you became the distraction, everybody pointed the finger at you.
Gotcha.
So I was always under the impression that if I remained silent, they would figure out what the problem was.
That's what's up.
Right? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That was always the thing that I was just like, yo, they'll figure it out. I just got to make sure I'm doing me. Now, the other flip side of that, the social media generation of things are, you could force your way out. Odell Beckham, Le'Veon Bell. You could do that now. Yeah. But 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't a popular decision. That's a good right?
Yeah, that's
so at that time in my life, I was just like, yo, just ride it out. Be the best you can be. Hopefully they figure it out. And that's kind of probably how, I was able to remain sane.
Okay. No, because I can't even imagine, because I would be heated, man, like trying to do all that. So
with that would be, especially at a position where stats are key. And that's directly driving your own pocketbook with contracts you're getting. If you're on a tough team, don't you think that affects you in that way too?
It doesn't affect your paper. What it will affect, where I'm at now in life, are you a Hall of Famer, right? So that's going to be the question in my career, right? Is like, he was a good player, but he was never on a good team. He never won a Super Bowl. But I never played to be a Hall of Famer, right? I played to go to the league. I played to change my family life, which I was able to do both.
Got it.
Now, my stats say I'm arguably in the conversation. A kid from Las Vegas, Nevada, where a lot of people are not from, we're not Florida, we're not Texas or California. So to even have my name mentioned with Hall of Famers, I'm like, I'm the man. I'm the man.
Yeah. I don't know how you're not.
No, that's going to happen. It's got to happen, man. That's some BS. So that's got to happen. So with everything you've been doing, man, so just kind of transition a little bit. I know you played for the Rams, you played for Atlanta, and then the Patriots. I got to ask you about Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Any secret that he's taught you?
I would say, before I answer that question, the Rams showed me fellowship, family, and it was one of those things that you may have a family member you can't stand, but you ain't going to let nobody else talk about them, right? That's the Rams for me, right? That's the Rams. Yep. The Falcons were the team where you surrounded by talent, but nobody lives up to the potential, right?
Got it.
And when I got to New England, it was a mixture of, you don't have to have the best team on the paper, and you don't have to necessarily, go in with a loser mentality. Like if we lose, we're gonna win the fight kind of thing, right? It was the mentality of that if you do your job and you trust the person next to you to do their job, everything will work itself out. And that was the first time I've been on the squad that everybody was just like, "Yo, all right, I understand that you could catch." Yep. I understand that you could tackle, but that ain't what I asked you to do. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And when you have a Hall of Fame coach tell you that, you like, yo, the game is so simple, right? It's so simple, and a lot of teams miss the simple part.
Gotcha. Do you think Brady's the GOAT?
He is the GOAT. Okay. He's the GOAT. At the position. At the position. He's the GOAT. You have the Jerry Rice, you have the Lawrence Taylors of defense. You have everybody that go to their position. But when you talk about that person that has the ball every play, right? The quarterbacks don't touch the ball every play, handoff or throw. And to have somebody consistently make the decision, the right decision, over and over, that's something to be said.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, because I know that's your guy too.
So most people don't. Most people like, yo, they cheat or blah 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 blah. But I'm like, yo, at the end of the day, he has to make a decision. Nobody thinks about the decision you have to make.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you open.
Consistently make
right?
the decision.
And he consistently does it.
Make the decision. Yeah. I love the fact that you're more than the athlete, not just shouting out the LeBron stuff, what he's doing, but.
Which we need more athletes doing it, though, right?
No,
LeBron is, he's wearing that for us, but we need more of us.
Yeah. But I see that in you. You're definitely way more than an athlete with the architect background and everything. What's your main focus and drive right now?
My main focus, honestly and wholeheartedly, is for people to realize that athletes are more than just entertainers.
There you go.
That's the thing, right? It's just like, because I'm on Twitter a lot, and I read people comments back to people they don't think gonna reply. And it's like, if you make a comment about something political, if you make a comment that happened, let's just say local news, we still fathers. You know what I'm saying? We still have our own opinions about how we want things to shake out politically. We have, a lot of us come from backgrounds where we wouldn't have given a fighting chance. So the moment you have an opinion about something, somebody tell you just be quiet and be an athlete, that's an insult. So instead of being combative in a way, I tell you, I go things about differently.
Yep.
I don't take things on head on. Because you expect me to do that, and you probably have a rebuttal for that. So I'll do things in a way that I'll get you to sit down and think about it when you don't realize I'm asking you to think. So when I
play chess,
I play a lot of chess.
Yeah,
I do things in a way that I try to be a positive reflection in the art and as an athlete. Although I'm going away from the sport, most people still recognize me as being a professional athlete. So if I come to you and talk to you about football, I'm not going to talk to you about X and O's. I want to talk to you about ownership, management, putting together a team. Like a lot goes into you just yelling at the TV screen because somebody didn't catch the ball. It's so much more goes into the game more than that.
And that's what I was surprised because, to be a professional athlete, you have to be extremely intelligent. To get there, you have to be educated, get through college, right? You have to be understand contract negotiations, business management, wealth management, all of these things. But then to the point, like you mentioned, people just disregard the opinion. Like it's just somebody who's out running the ball.
Yeah.
Which I can't do that. I wouldn't even understand how to memorize a playbook. Mm-hmm. So it just seems odd to me.
Yeah, I mean, memorize a playbook is one thing. I always tell people, young athletes I mentor a lot, I say, one thing I want you to realize is you are very good at communicating because you got to communicate on the field in milliseconds.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you're a coder. We don't speak a language nobody else speaks, right? So every football team plays on the same 100 yards, same 50 yards wide, same 11 men, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, when I played for the Patriots, we didn't speak the same language as the Rams. So I had to learn a new language. And then on top of that, the decisions you make with the football in your hand, you got to live with. I don't get a remote control to rewind and say, oh, I missed that cut, or I did this. Yeah. It's a decision that I have to make and I have to live with it, right or wrong or indifferent. I still have to stand on my 2 feet and say, I made that decision. And what I realized in retirement and now being a business owner is that a lot of people are not accountable for their faults. And that's the thing I always tell young athletes is that the one thing you can stand on your own 2 feet as you build your resume and your career out is that you're a person that you understand accountability. And that can go a long way.
You know, this at 25 years old. You know, it's crazy.
Man, it's so many people, and I know your pops taught you that being military. My dad was military too. Is if you look somebody in the eye, you shake their head, you say go be somewhere. Oh. That's that old school setup, man.
As good as your pen to paper.
Yep, 100%, man. So talk just a little bit about quick hits, man. I see that's rolling, man.
Yeah. So quick hits is something I started this season on my Instagram and I share it on my other platforms. What quick is that I try to get my fan engagement to be a little different. Okay. And what I mean by different is I was a kid, going back to the story earlier in the conversation, I got hit in the mouth with a baseball. And from that mouth surgery, I had to have reconstruction surgery. And that made me really shy because I had a lisp. You know what I'm saying? I had to get my teeth corrected. I had a whole ordeal, right? Okay. So as a kid in your late elementary, middle school years, that's formative years that you're developing that I was very shy. I didn't want to talk. I was just like, I was done with it. Yep. But I found my confidence in football. But the one thing I will say football took away from me being a team sport and being a military kid is I never found my own voice. So my own voice was always, I felt suffocated, right? It's either like if I played for the Rams, we were bad. I'm not going to say, oh, the old line and block. Yeah. That wasn't my personality. Yeah. So what quick hits is that me reintroducing my voice to the people. Because I know for so long that I always kind of PC'd everything. I said the right things. I did the right things. But my fans that want to know me more on an intimate level, I'm like, I'm going to give them something that they don't get on TV. You could turn the ESPN NFL Network and get the X's and O's. But I'm going to give you the X's. I'm going to give you the X's and O's behind the player mindset. I don't report to nobody. I don't have a producer telling me what to say, what not to say. I don't have any of that. So if you come on my page, I'm going to give to you, in my point of view, what I think is pertinent or what you should know about whatever topic I'm talking about.
And you're an expert too. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're not, just talking BS.
Yeah. I don't just have the remote. I understand the moment. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. No, I was watching it, man. You got some breaking a lot of stuff down. Man.
Yeah. So. This week coming up, man, I'm gonna break down the minority head coaching ordeal. I think it's something that we need to be discussed.
Okay, I love it, man. Yeah. I love it. So you traveled around the world, man, and I was looking up the photography and everything. So with your works of art, I mean, is that something that you really are gonna push going forward, or what are you doing with that now with photography?
Yeah, I mean, I take a lot of photographs, and I mean, you could, to the listeners, you can find it at I am SJ39 on Instagram, or you can just go to my website www.sj39.com. But my works of art is simply therapy for me.
Oh, okay.
Simply therapy.
Got it.
Now I've had an art show, and I've sold my art in the past, and HBO Hard Knocks highlighted it. I mean, I've been blessed to be highlighted, but I never did it for that. It's simply the introvert in me that's creative and just want to express myself. But I will say this, in the artistic side of me or me wanting to express myself, it's all about having people see me and other athletes differently. That's purely what it's about. Yeah. It's just that I was just a football player that you recognize by name recognition, or I was on your fantasy football. You're like, oh, he's a good football player. But I always want you to be able to think outside who I am outside that helmet. And I think art, I'm getting big into writing, literature. I think all these things will outlast me. The day I die, take my last breath, these things will still be working art that people, my children and people who are fans of myself can understand me on a deeper level, or even go back and refer to like, I see what he may have been going through or thinking about at that time.
It's powerful you're talking about because the youth is obviously going to be listening to this. And
I'm an advocate for the youth, man. I mean, I don't want to just say that, once you're adult, you're on your own, but I think that the youth, we don't have enough positive examples. It's just not enough. And you could turn on the TV and you could, I watch reality TV too, but reality TV is popular for the negative, not the positive.
I can't watch reality.
You know what I'm saying?
It's on my nerves, man. I can't do it.
See, I watch it for a different reason. I watch it for inspiration.
Okay.
Right? I could watch somebody and see two people argue, but in that argument, I'm going to look for what are you arguing about? What's the misconnect? Where you guys don't connect at, or how people are living their lives that I might have not been privy to. Like you said, in my travels, I've been to 42 countries in my life so far. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my travels come because of I had homeboys that didn't either have passports or couldn't travel like I could, or I was traveling because I was debriefing from the season I just had, and we just went 2-14. I can't call my friend Jamal and cry to him, right? He like, you in the NFL? What you crying for, right? And then I'd be remiss in saying that the things that I accomplished, I'm not proud of. So I would take these trips around the world to, one, reflect on the things I've accomplished, two, set a new goal for myself, but thirdly, be educated in the world that I had not been exposed to.
That's awesome.
So the more I continue to travel by myself, the more I realize the world is not as big and scary as you think it is. Once you can communicate, 100%. And it happens typically over music and food, which both I love. Yeah. Once you can communicate with somebody, you understand you have so much more in common with people than you do differently.
It's so funny you said. I got a business friend of mine who's been talking about that for years, and he was saying, stop buying your kids material stuff and take them on trips and stuff like that because they'll learn. Like I noticed, I got a 5 and a 3-year-old, and I noticed like we take them out of the country, you see them change. You know what I mean? Overnight, it's crazy. You know what I mean? So it's awesome that you're talking about that. Yeah.
Big time. I mean, my kids, so far, they've been to a couple of countries, and I'll never forget when I took my kids to London and we played in Wembley, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, man, my kids are in Wembley Stadium.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Watching their dad play football. Yeah. I'm just a kid from East Side Las Vegas, man. Right? I mean, I've been playing El Dorado, Sun Devil, where probably 300-400 people showed up. And now here I am on a world stage, and then there's a billboard of their father on the stage. And I just only piece myself because it just really, really goes back to the initiative, hard work and dedication.
Straight up.
Nothing else separated me outside of hard work and dedication. I was willing to do the things that other people weren't willing to do.
I hate to even ask you that because you talked about it. What do you want your personal brand to represent?
My next stage in life, I'm going to be a business mogul. I plan on owning an NFL team before I die.
Awesome. And
before I do that, I would be not only a business leader and a job provider, but I'll be someone also that, regardless of male or female, if someone needs a positive role model to look up to, I hope that I can fill that void.
Yeah, well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it for sure. Yeah. I got to ask you, I don't want to get on a rabbit trail, but what do you think about what Jay-Z's done with the NFL and taking on that?
I think
especially with you wanting to own a team.
Yeah. Yep. So I think what Jay is doing is remarkable, to be honest with you. I hesitate because I know it could be a lightning rod for it, but I think regardless of minority or regardless of where we come from, he played football, he didn't play football, blah, blah, blah. I think we all fight the same battle on different fronts. So just as much as you need someone like a Kaepernick, you also need somebody like Jay-Z to progress the conversation, right? We can't just stay stuck in one portion of the discussion. So minority ownership, minority leadership, wherever it comes from, if it's positive, if it's moving the culture forward, I'm for it. Now, my only thing about that is we just got to make sure that when we lace our pockets, we lace it back to the people that makes the sport, popular. I didn't play football if it wasn't for Barry Sanders and Walton Payton. And I would think the next generation would play it probably for Todd Gurley or Saquon Barkley, right? So we all understand that there's a generation before us that paved the way, continue to get back to the future of the sport.
That's what's up. We got to transition to Vegas, man, so you're from Vegas. Yeah. So what do you like about Vegas just in general? You came back and obviously living here now, so...
Well, the first thing I would say to anybody moving to Las Vegas, it's a town that's small enough that everybody's reachable, right? Yeah. Like you and I, we met at a house party, right? Exactly. So that's the one thing I would say. It's a small niche community that everybody's inclusive, and if you're trying to make waves, you can make waves easily.
Easy network.
Easy network. And then the other thing I would say, it's a 24-hour town. Anytime you need something to do something, it's available to you to do.
Yep.
It could be a little dangerous if you don't have discipline in your life,
true.
But I will say, I'd rather have it available, not available, because I done lived in some small towns too, right? So like, I know what it's
talking about Idaho. So yeah,
I remember some nights when I moved to college, and it was like I ain't gonna say the liquor store, but I mean that thing closed about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you ain't made a decision, boy. You in trouble.
It's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a long night. Yeah. That's good stuff, man. We always ask everybody this: what's your favorite restaurant in Vegas?
Ooh. So I will say this. It used to be hands down 9 Steakhouse, which was in the Palm.
Yeah,
it was in the Palm. Now I think I'm more of a health-conscious seafood guy. I think it's probably Milo's and Cosmo.
Okay, Milo's good spot.
Man, I love some fresh seafood.
Yeah, good spot. Yeah, with the lobster.
Yeah.
I know
that thing just looking at you like, come on back, player.
That's a good spot, man. We ain't had anybody talk about Milo's yet, so they sleeping on that. So just kind of a 2-part question, just kind of finishing up. What would you say your personal goals are, and where do you see yourself in like the next 5 years?
Personal goal. I think I could continue to grow as a man, as a father. I've been challenging myself personally in my personal life. Mm-hmm. January of this year, I challenged myself to do public speaking once a month.
Okay.
And I've been able to do that, all right? So here I am 12 months in. I made good on that promise to myself. And the reason I made that promise to myself is not because I'm afraid of the microphone. It's because doing an interview with you or the likes of you is very easy. Mm-hmm. But standing on the stage and talking to a room full of people was nerve-wracking to me. And when I realized or identified, going back to the tape, going to the football, when you got to scout yourself, I realized that was not a place I was comfortable at. And all I know to do is when I'm not good at something, I work at it.
That's good.
I think personally, my personal goal is to always continue to be a better version of myself. Mm-hmm. And this last year was my voice, finding my voice, speaking my voice. And next year, I'll go into literature. I'm going to start writing more. I blog, but I don't blog nearly as enough as I should. Mm-hmm. I say all that to say is that in the next 5 years, I'm going to continue to just be me, but a better version of myself. And what that means is that I'm continuing to be a provider, continue to be somebody I choose love over anything else. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, I just think that going back to the young people, because that's my passion. Mm-hmm. I think young people need to understand that although they may only think there's 1 or 2 ways out, whatever circumstances they're in, there's actually multiple versions of way. I have a nephew that he had his aspirations to be in the NBA, and we had a conversation earlier this year to say, you may not go to the NBA, but there's other ways to make money in basketball. You could be a coach, you could be a scout, you could open up your own gym, a rec. I mean, there's so many ways. Mm-hmm. So as I continue to evolve as a businessman, my hopes and my plans are to encourage young people, find your passion. And in that passion, you don't always have to be the person in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. You could be the person behind the scenes and still do what you love. Mm-hmm. And as long as people do what they love, I think there's not a day you will regret on this earth. And there's you'll find people that's like-minded and encourage you to be better.
That's awesome, man. Yep. Well, we're excited to see your future, man.
Yeah,
you're inspirational, man. I'm glad
man.
to see my kids looking up to you. You know what I mean? That's good stuff, man.
And I'm just happy to know that I was a fan of somebody who's actually doing positive.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Straight up, man. So shout out all your social media real fast, and just so that everybody knows.
On Instagram, you can find me at IamSJ39. On Twitter, it's at SJ39, and my website is www.sj39.com.
Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man, on the Vegas Circle, man. So.
Thanks, you guys, man. Thank you. Anytime, have me back, please.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Thank you.